AI is changing the world, and your computer is paying the price. Here is how AI is killing Windows 11. If you own a computer that isn't a Mac, odds are it runs on Microsoft Windows, the operating system that has powered most PCs since the early 90s. Microsoft used to be the undisputed king of personal computing, but today it's facing more competition than ever, from Apple, Chromebooks, and a changing PC market. So it's constantly trying to keep Windows easy to use, easy to update, and accessible for everyday users. And despite all the changes, Microsoft Office is still one of the most widely used software suites on the planet. But they're taking a big swing, and it might be the thing that dooms it. Like every other major tech company, Microsoft is rushing to incorporate AI into its systems, to automate basic tasks, and guide people as they use the computer. But this isn't Microsoft's first attempt at smart features. Back in the late 1990s, the company was famously mocked for Clippy, a virtual assistant so intrusive and unhelpful it became a global punchline. Clippy didn't last long, but Microsoft kept trying, rolling out less cartoony Office assistants over the years. Eventually, that evolved into Cortana, a chatbot-style helper bundled with Microsoft software up until 2023. Then, an earthquake hit and everyone else hurried to catch up. But Microsoft wasn't about to be the one company left behind. The launch of ChatGPT led Microsoft to quickly develop its own. Copilot was launched in late 2023 and soon incorporated into just about everything the company operates. That included Windows 11, the newest operating system. Old computers could be updated with the new software, and Copilot would come with them, whether you wanted it or not. And that's the real issue. Copilot isn't just an app. Microsoft built it like a new layer on top of the entire operating system. And the more they force that layer in, the more Windows 11 starts feeling like it is fighting you instead of helping you. Because this wasn't just a feature update, it was a takeover. And once AI becomes the center of the operating system, everything else starts getting worse. Performance, stability, settings, even basic usability. The complaints about Copilot and AI's incorporation into Windows came even before the software fully rolled out. That's because Microsoft went with a hard sell on their new feature, ending support for Windows 10 in 2025, cutting people off from vital security and service features unless they updated to the new model. Microsoft claims the new software is designed to make your life easier. But if you talk to the customers, that's not the case at all. In fact, a lot of people started asking the same question: why does Windows feel harder to use now? The new software was given a big push as Windows 11 debuted, with Microsoft Copilot being accessible directly through the taskbar. Keyboards have a dedicated key to summon Copilot. Like all the other major AI chatbots like Gemini, Grok, and ChatGPT, it can answer questions, write text, and generate images with a simple prompt. It's free to use, but certain higher levels of generative tasks are accessed with an additional paid subscription. And as Windows 10's end of support gets closer, that leaves millions of users with a brutal choice: upgrade into Windows 11's AI-first world or get left behind. And the worst part, for a lot of people it doesn't feel like a choice at all. Windows 11 looks like the Windows you know, just faster, smarter, and better. But that promise comes with a trade-off. Windows 11 had much higher system requirements than previous models, partly because Microsoft designed it for a more always-on modern system, including AI features running in the background whether you use them or not. So it froze out many older devices. This felt like a forced upgrade for many people, even if they weren't ready to retire an older but reliable computer. This was hardly anything new. Most devices today don't simply die, but they get retired when the device can no longer handle updated websites and apps. But this was different. This wasn't just Microsoft upgrading Windows, this was Microsoft upgrading you. When Windows 11 debuted, it initially got positive reviews. It was a big step forward for a system that had been seen as old hat for a while. But it soon became clear that the majority of existing Windows 10 PCs weren't able to run the new software coming from a previous generation. It's estimated that 60% of the currently owned devices would need to be upgraded, which could be a massive drain on the finances of their loyal customers. And that is when people started realizing this wasn't a normal upgrade cycle, it was a forced migration. It's been close to 3 years since people started playing with AI chatbots, and the opponents are more vocal than ever. The generative AI movement has been accused of being based around plagiarism, damaging the environment with its heavy data use, driving up the price of RAM, and making school children dumber. And the worst part for the doubters is it's completely unavoidable. All major browsers and websites are quickly incorporating it, but no one quite embraced it on the same level as Microsoft. Because Microsoft didn't just add AI to Windows, they built Windows around it. Around the same time that Microsoft ended general support for Windows 10, they rolled out a whole host of new updates for Windows 11. heavily reliant on Copilot. It was an attempt to create the first fully integrated AI-powered laptop. The most significant change was a voice mode that allows people to say, "Hey, Copilot," and begin directing the laptop to carry out tasks for them. One of Microsoft's chief marketing officers compared this innovation to introducing the mouse and keyboard. Another new AI feature was Copilot Vision, which allowed the AI to analyze and give feedback on anything that was on the screen. And to many people, it started to seem like Big Brother was watching. But the scariest part wasn't what Copilot could do. It was that you couldn't make it stop. AI-based editing and analysis features have been around for a while, with one of the most popular being Grammarly. This writing software takes the classic spell check and adds in features to help you optimize your language, eliminating awkward phrasing and incorrect grammar. But this does it in an unobtrusive way. Many Windows 11 skeptics said that it felt like Copilot was butting in where it wasn't wanted, much in the same way Clippy would pop up when least needed in the old Office Assistant days. But far bigger problems for Microsoft were just around the corner. As the new software rolled out, it was criticized for its lack of support for third-party content and a reduction in user-friendly features like customization and default settings. Some critics said it felt unfinished, like Microsoft rushed the OS out the door, not to make Windows better, but to make Copilot unavoidable. However, as time went on, frequent users started to notice small but annoying issues with the interface. Moving files proved trickier than expected, and settings didn't seem to stick. Because Windows 11 isn't just trying to be a tool anymore, it's trying to predict what you want and getting in the way. And that might sound small, but it's exactly the kind of thing that makes people stop trusting the OS. And one group was harder to please than any other. Office workers and casual users will only notice big problems. Gamers, however, will notice even the smallest change in effectiveness. And they quickly noticed something that should never happen. Their games ran up to 10% faster on Windows 10 than the newer model. In competitive games where even half a second lag can cost someone a high-stakes match, there is no tolerance for slowness. Soon, gamers were switching back to Windows 10 for as long as they could. It's something that should never happen, a new model running slower than the old model. But the real damage wasn't performance, it was trust. As many environmentalists have pointed out, AI has a big cost. It eats up a lot of data and energy. And that doesn't just affect data centers and electricity grids. When AI is heavily built into a program, it demands more from your computer. More processing power, more background activity, more strain overall. And if you've ever used an older PC, you already know how easy it is for performance to tank under pressure, especially when gaming, where overheating and slowdown are already common. So gamers were one of the first groups asking the obvious question: do we really need all of this AI? And when gamers start downgrading to the older operating system, that's not a minor complaint, it's a warning sign. Gamers are usually the first group to push new hardware, new updates, new software. If they don't want it, who does? And they were about to be proven right, in a big way. Because if Windows can't even keep power users happy, what is it doing to everyone else? Windows 11 adoption was slow to start, with the onerous system updates deterring many people from taking the plunge. It didn't hit 50% of Microsoft's market surge until July 2025, as many people saw their existing software sunset, and it shot up from there. But with more users came more problems, and toward the end of 2025, there were more reported glitches, with people's settings not saving and functions not working as advertised. Many systems also experienced frequent outages, which caused major problems for gamers and workers alike. It was clear that an update was needed. And then Microsoft pushed an update that made everything worse. In January 2026, Microsoft issued a new series of patch notes for the software aimed at fixing some of its biggest headaches. Instead, it came back, and many people found the entire software was riddled with critical errors that made it near unusable. Some people found they couldn't even sign into their device, or that it wouldn't shut down properly when they were done working. Those on remote desktop experienced the worst problems, and those using old software like Outlook Classic found themselves locked out of the app entirely. Emails went missing, browsers froze, and many users just slammed their laptop shut in frustration. Microsoft had to act fast. 2 days after the initial update slowed the system to a crawl, Microsoft issued emergency patches for the system. These 2 out-of-band updates were designed to fix the most critical issues, which kept the systems from shutting down and kept people from signing in remotely. But the problems didn't stop there. One of the most basic Windows tools, Task Manager, refused to close. It just stayed open, chewing up resources, until the entire PC froze. That's not a bad update, that is a computer you can't rely on. One of the biggest concerns people had about the new system was that they weren't so sure that their data was even secure. And it all came back to the fine print. In December 2025, people noticed that the text relating to the new AI network indicated that much like any other AI, it could hallucinate, providing false information collated from the internet without being able to differentiate. But buried deeper was a mention that the AI might introduce novel security risks, which could refer to spyware or viruses. While there are no reports of this actually happening, the fact that Microsoft felt it necessary to cover themselves for this possibility has made many people worried. And when your operating system itself is admitting new risks, people stop seeing it as helping, and they start to see it as a threat. After months of ongoing problems with key features being repeatedly down, Microsoft admitted that the software that they had brute-forced people into wasn't working as intended. The fixes improved some of the issues, but crashes and malfunctions persisted, and many people assumed the AI was to blame. After all, if the software now has a mind of its own, can it actually be trusted to manage your software? And is this the moment that AI starts to wreak havoc on our computer systems? In a word, probably not, but that doesn't mean we're out of the woods. Despite what the biggest proponents of AI say, we are not on the verge of a benevolent, sentient AI managing our lives for us. And despite what the biggest detractors say, we're probably not close to Skynet launching nukes. Even the most powerful AI software these days, like ChatGPT or Gemini, are still just large language models, collating information and putting words together via predictive algorithms. They can be highly convincing, but they are still easy to confuse when too much information is introduced. And that is exactly what might have happened here. This is the most deeply integrated AI has ever been in a mainstream computer platform. Even Google's Gemini in Chrome still feels mostly optional, something that you can use when you go looking for it. But Microsoft Copilot is built into every corner of Windows 11, meaning it is always there and it is always running. And that constant background presence can slow things down, add bugs, and make the whole experience more complicated than it needs to be. The result is a messier, more frustrating system, and it is driving people straight to the competition. As of January 2026, users were working to figure out the feature that people wanted the most from their new AI-powered operating system, the ability to turn off the AI. But the software didn't make it easy, and the internet was hard at work figuring out the individual settings that needed to be deactivated. Because nobody asked for a smarter Windows, they just wanted Windows 10 and a computer that would let them work. And that is where Microsoft has a real problem, not just with Windows 11, but with Windows as a brand. Consumers hold off on upgrading, businesses delay deployments, IT departments push back, gamers downgrade, and suddenly the Windows ecosystem that Microsoft built its empire on starts to look less like a foundation and more like a liability. Because once people stop trusting Windows, Microsoft doesn't just lose an OS, it loses the center of its entire ecosystem. This isn't the only area where Microsoft is falling behind the competition. Check out the real reason Xbox is failing for the behind-the-scenes story of the company's fall from gaming grace. Or watch this video instead.